Greetings, my fellow YouTubers. This is a shot of whiskey, and just for the sake of doing it, I am bringing back the Planet Dolan responses. Since the last one I did was for July, this will feature my favorite example for the past 5 months. So, starting off with August, we have...
The dumbest things we believed when we were little.
Each one of us views the world from our own eyes, and processes what we've seen within our own minds. Well, when I was about 6, I tried to understand why it was that I was seeing things from the perspective of a little boy named Aaron. The best theory that I came up with was that I must have been an alien scout, surveying humanity and whether or not Earthlings deserved to be in space yet.
You will now answer to the charge of being a grievously savage race.
Of course, I thought the idea was pretty damn silly at first, but one day I was being picked on by some of the other boys in the neighborhood. For whatever reason, I thought back to that alien theory and announced, "I'm from the planet Saturn, and if you're not nice to me, my people will make sure Earth becomes a lifeless dirt ball," or something like that. Of course, I got picked on more for that, but when I went home, I thought about why that thought came to mind. I actually thought it must have been true, because otherwise, why would I share something so stupid? Okay, now for September.
The weirdest things we have overheard on a public transport.
Of all the stories I have, this one stands out to me right now, probably because I just watched Monster Musume. If you've seen the anime, you'll understand why after I share this tale. A little over a decade ago, I was sitting at the seat just behind the rear exit door of the bus. Sitting in the far back was a pair of teen girls. One of them said something about how she heard that her big brother had gotten into trouble for engaging in phone sex with his girlfriend. The other girl asked, "How does phone sex work? Does the woman shove the phone in her vagina and have the man call her?"
Nope.
Thankfully, the one telling the story knew what it meant, so she spelled it out for her. Okay, October, you're next.
Annoying things that customers have done.
When you've worked in fast food for about 5 years, you build up quite the list of examples of annoying customers. To tell you the truth, I wrote down the first 5 examples I could think of and rolled the d20. This is what you're getting. During the last year I was at Taco Bell, I was a shift leader, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned before. During one of my afternoon shifts, I had our lone high schooler working the drive-thru window. She was a cute little thing, and by cute I mostly mean adorable. As I was doing my task of checking the quality of the food, I had heard that a man in a truck was being loud towards her, like angry loud. Once I looked, I could see in her stance that she might have been scared by this guy. So I went up to her and offered to have her go on her 10-minute break. She went, and I immediately asked the guy, "Hello, I am the shift lead. Is there something wrong?" He continued bitching, claiming that the employee was a fucking idiot, blah blah blah. So I turned to the computer and pushed some buttons.
Look at me! I'm inventing the cotton dip!
And gave the man his money back. I told him to get the fuck out of my drive-thru and learn how to be a better father for what I assumed was his 12-ish-year-old daughter who was sitting in the passenger seat, followed by, "Have a nice day." It's one thing to be an uncivilized bully like that, but it's another to do it in front of your child. Not cool, dude. Thankfully, it's now November's turn.
The cringiest things people have said to us.
Channels like mine often cover these cringe type of things, but usually it's of a political nature. For this video though, I thought I'd cover one of the older stories that I was thinking about doing for the last clip. You know that old saying that the customer is always right? Well, fuck that. There was this large family that came in one day, 2 adults and a bunch of teens and kids. They each gave me their order, one by one, with the male adult being last. I don't remember exactly what he ordered, but I do recall that he wanted no tomatoes on anything that he personally ordered. After ringing everything up, I read out the entire order, including pointing out who asked for what, because I'm a boss. They got their food and began to eat, and in no time at all the man comes up to me and starts complaining that there was a single bit of tomato on his taco. Now, of course, he could have been a decent person and just taken it off himself. But no, he had to be a bitch. In this type of case, I could have had a new taco made for him, or offered him a refund for the taco, but you know what he wanted instead? He wanted his entire meal to be remade, even though the other items were just fine. And a full refund for the entire family's order. I told him that I couldn't do that, and he said that idiotic line.
The customer is always right.
Don, got me on a technicality.
I laughed at him and told him that they are not, and that I won't do something that is against company policy or logic over a single taco. He demanded to speak to a manager, and being the playful dick that I can be, I said, sure thing. I took off my hat, put it back on, then asked him, hi, how may I help you? He then started screaming about how he was going to make sure that I was going to get fired, so I reminded him about the number on his receipt. He sat back down, the defeated loser that he was, and ate his meal, including the taco. And pretty much as I had figured, when they left, they made sure to leave a big mess in the lobby. I chose to clean it up myself, laughing about how this is what happens when 8 children go to a restaurant unsupervised. The best part, debatably, was that he did call in on me. My boss's boss came in a few days later to talk to me about what had happened, which if you saw some of my previous Dolan response videos, yes, it was the same MILF of a boss I used to have. I told her the story and how I wasn't going to refund a nearly $100 order over a single tomato on a single taco. She sided with me, but reminded me to try not to be an ass, although she used different words than that. Now it's time to conclude this video with the December clip.
The weird things we do.
Just to be clear, even though the title makes it sound like these are things that we still do, there are some of the Planet Dolan clips that sound like they are former weird things. In fact, one of them even emphasized that said person no longer does their weird thing. Therefore, I'm going to share a former weird thing of my own. I've said before that I like wrestling, and yes, that includes professional. In a non-Dolan video that I've done, I also included a scene that related to Pogs, because I was a Pog collector back when those things were popular. Since I wasn't a very social kid at the time, I sought out ways to play with my Pogs alone. A sort of Pog version of solitaire, if you will. Which is where the professional wrestling passion comes into play. I built a wrestling ring out of Legos, and created my own wrestling company. I even went so far as to make several championship belts, make up names for my referees and announcers, and I used notepads to log the pay-per-views I held. Thanks to how many wrestlers I had, I made a lot of championships. As I was writing this script, I took a pause to reflect on all the titles I had made for this, and I recall 11 different championships. There may have been 1 or 2 more, but 11 is how many I remember.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
11 is also about how old I was when I started doing this, and I kept doing it until I was about 23 or so, when I started to become more social and got more into anime. And in case anyone is wondering, I think I may still have my old collection somewhere in storage. I don't remember throwing them away, but even if I did, I've purchased some in my late 20s and early 30s while browsing places like Goodwill. I'm sure I'll find them when I go through my storage unit this summer. Well, now that I'm caught up with the Planet Dolan videos, I'm going to go ahead and focus on some videos that are a little bit more worthwhile and a lot less embarrassing, because I gotta tell you, that December one, I'm kind of ashamed of that one. So, in the meantime, everybody, have a good one.